Hey, Alex Weinberg here. Wanted to take some time to talk about my process for implementing a dynamic footstep system in the Lyra starter game in Unreal Engine using Wwise. The first hurdle was figuring out a clean way to implement the audio into this already fleshed out complex project. After much digging and research, I learned a lot of Lyra's modular system is built from using game feature plugins and game modes. So I ended up creating my own game feature plugin that will attach an actor component I create with the audio logic to the default hero character at runtime. More on that later. Right now, let's zoom back a bit and start at footstep creation and Wwise. I also want to use this opportunity to talk about my new workflow with Reaper and Wwise using Wwise. This is a very powerful Reaper extension that allows you to define different rules for transferring individual assets from your Reaper project to a Wwise project. In my case, I'm using a marker as a switch container, footstep, and then regions as child switch containers. So in this instance, concrete and metal. And then the tracks as child random containers within. So one for the left foot and one for the right foot on each respective material. Once transferred, I set up all my switches in Wwise, one for which foot is stepping and one for each material. In this case, we have two, concrete and glass, but there could be many more. Then I integrated Wwise in my Lyra project and generated all of the U assets. And now I was ready to flesh out my actor component blueprint. The first thing to do is to implement the context effects interface. This gives us access to the anim motion effect event, which is called from each animation as the character steps. This is really helpful because it is already set up in each animation, so there is no need for me to go through and do each one of these by hand. This event gives a lot of useful information like the hit result, which we can get the surface type from, and the bone socket name that's calling the event so we can determine left or right foot. So first off, I will get the owner of this component and I will promote that to a variable as we will use it later. Then I'll cast this to the character default. Next, I'll get the get or create AK component node, and we'll get the root component from the owner, and we can attach this to that. Then down to the anim motion effect event. So this will fire every time a foot is planted, along with a bunch of information that we'll need. First, from the hit result, I'm going to get the surface type, and this will return an enum. We can use a select node, which will let us choose a different value for each surface type available in this enum. Since I'm going to assign a switch value to each surface type, I need to change the pin type to AK switch value, and then I can assign all of these. So then we'll take this return value and feed that into a set switch node. We can grab our character object reference to make sure this is switching for our actor. Next, I'll promote the bone name to a variable. This will give us the socket name, which is passed in the anim notify in the animation where the event is called. I'll grab that variable, then see if it is equal to foot_L, which is how the sockets are named. And then we'll use a branch and feed this Boolean return as the condition. If it is foot_L, then we'll set the switch to the left foot. If not, we'll assume it's the right foot and set the switch to the right foot. And then we will post the play footstep event. So now if we check our Wwise profile as we're playing in the editor, we can see the switches are behaving correctly based off of which foot is hitting and the surface material the player is on. That's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching. I will see you next time.